This episode is brought to you by the Human Amplified Healing Priorities Workbook. I created this workbook to help you intentionally decide on and prioritize which part of your holistic health you need or want to work on first, and then I give you tools to take action in the area you choose. Visit humanamplified.com/episodes/092 to get your free workbook today. I'm your host, Brandy Fleck, and this is Human Amplified. We're on a mission to revamp society by amplifying your humanity. This week on the show...
Hi, my name is Samantha Lander, and I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I think that people don't have a good understanding of how much better they could feel. It's not all about working out like crazy. People are so attached to food. It's like they're married to it. It's just learning how to swap whatever you're doing now with something a little cleaner. It will always get better, and there's a reason why you're going through it.
This month, we've been focusing on themes of listening to your body, taking care of your body, and healing holistically. Several guests so far have even talked about how body dysmorphia, food restriction, and eating disorder fueled by traditional wellness activities have played into their lives. That's why I'm excited to introduce you to this week's guest, Samantha Lander, or Sam for short. Not only does she have similar experiences, but she's a St. Louis, Missouri-based single mom, personal trainer, and functional diagnostic nutritionist who DJs on the side. I don't know if she would say this. I think she probably would, but I would definitely say she's not your traditional nutritionist. Sam used functional nutrition to heal herself from allergies, food sensitivities, hormonal imbalances, and parasites. She's also founder of CFit, where she coaches people back to optimal health when they just can't quite put their finger on why they feel bad. In this episode, we really explore Sam's life and the events that contributed to her feeling so sick before she got into functional health. We talk about everything from drinking lake water as a kiddo to a meth addiction and doing time in a federal prison. However, Sam mainly packs in actionable advice for how you can clean up your eating habits, heal your gut, and make healthier choices. She gets deep into why most people feel bad regularly, what leaky gut is, and how it happens, and what it actually feels like to feel good. Something you may not even know you're missing, even if you're not sick. You'll come away from this episode knowing how food sensitivities form, how people get parasites and some ways to avoid them, tips for how to start healing your gut, tips for how to start eating clean at home and in restaurants. Sam lists the most common foods to avoid that cause inflammation, and you'll even find out how many times a day you should be pooping. For all the links mentioned throughout this episode, visit the show notes at humanamplified.com/episodes/092. All right, everyone, today we are welcoming to the show Samantha Lander, and I will let her tell you a little bit about herself. But first, I just want to say thanks for coming on, and I'm excited to get to have this conversation with you today.
Me too.
How are you doing? Before we jump in, just how are things?
I am good. I'm really good. I have my bumps in the road. It's really hard being a single mom with a difficult ex.
Yes.
But yeah, I just had a rough patch where my dog had a really big surgery. My ex had open heart surgery. My kid got kicked out of daycare. So I really live like the nitty gritty, but then I got to run two businesses. So when things are going well and my kid is in daycare or whatever he is in, and things are good, great, life is good. But overall, it's good. As long as I love working. And so if I'm able to work, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, man, sorry your kiddo got kicked out of daycare. That
I know.
stinks.
Yeah, it's the second time. He's the sweetest thing in the world. It's just, he gets really overstimulated with large groups of kids. So we're trying to figure that out. He has a hard time calming down. So we're working on it.
Yeah.
Trying to find the right groove.
Yeah. You said you run two businesses. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like who you are, what you do?
Yeah. So I am from St. Louis, And I grew up here. I went to University of Michigan, went to LA for a while, and then I came back here. And that's when I decided that I wanted to become a personal trainer. So I got certified in personal training, and this was in 2000 and let's see, maybe 9. I got certified. And I also, at that point, I was actually working at Support Dogs. So I was helping train dogs to be support dogs at the time. And it's kind of funny. So we can touch base on how I learned to do that later.
Okay.
But I was trained to do that at a certain point in my life. And I started personal training and was really, really successful. Ended up 6 figures by the second year of training.
That's awesome.
I got really lucky. I had a really great niche of people. Like I trained all ages, but my like thing was young high school girls. So I trained in kind of a wealthier area, and all the girls, it was kind of, they weren't hard. Some were athletes and some weren't, but a lot of them weren't athletes. Their parents wanted to get involved in something. So my like sort of 3 p.m. until 6 or 7 p.m. was groups. I did small group training, and it was groups of high school girls basically that whole evening.
Okay.
Which is very rewarding, but very draining at the same time. So you get to really see the nitty gritty of body image and eating disorders and boys. And, these are all very smart. They're all going to the top private schools in town. So that was hard on my health. And that's kind of a little bit of what led me into some of the other stuff that I ended up doing. So that was my one business. And I was sort of that trainer where, I could get results with a lot of my clients, but I also had some where they would kick their butt at the gym and do everything and eat right and get no results. And that's sort of where I was. I was really sick. I didn't feel good. I knew something was off. My stomach was always hurt. I just kept gaining weight. I worked out all the time, ate, like you couldn't pay me to eat a cookie, like $1 million. That's how like strict I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And something was wrong. And that's when I got into doing functional medicine on myself with a practitioner. And then eventually realized that I wanted to be able to add that toolbox to my training with clients, because it's not all about working out like crazy. Some of my clients, I tell them to just stop working out for a while and just weight train, no more cardio, because it's so stressful on the body that you have to find a really good balance for that. So I got certified as a functional diagnostic nutritionist. And that's when I kind of started that business. But I had so many clients that was kind of like my side gig. But that allowed me to run food sensitivity tests, adrenal and hormone panels, and do a lot of GI panels. I did extensive courses in the gut and parasites and gut, GI, SIBO, any of those GI infections, because that was the underlying stressor that I was dealing with my health. And so I realized, I think I needed to be able to figure that out with other people.
Yeah.
So those are my businesses.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So mom, personal trainer, functional diagnostic nutritionist, and are you a DJ? Are you still a DJ?
I'm a DJ. So, okay. So this is kind of funny. I actually, this Wednesday, so tomorrow night is like my first, so I played some small little gigs here and there, and it was like, I knew it wasn't like anything stressful, but I actually have a gig at a legitimate like record bar tomorrow night.
That's
so
awesome.
We'll see if I make a little comeback. I'd love to play like twice a month just for fun.
Yeah.
But especially if like turntables are already there and everything. If I don't take anything but my records, I'm good. But I still play all vinyl. But yeah, I was a DJ in LA and produced music for 7 years. My job fell through after college when I moved out there, and I just decided that was my thing. I was going to do that.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely, I think later on in the interview, we'll get into sort of how you made a leap from like DJing to personal training and health and like how it all fits together. But
Perfect.
let's jump into just sort of like, I want to say generally, you help people with a lot of ailments. Is it safe to say that everything you do revolves around helping people feel physically good again?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like my slogan or my whatever, my buzzword, whatever you want to call it, marketing is, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired?
Okay.
And let's optimize your health. Let's find a way to optimize your health. And a lot of the people I get have already been to doctors, or they just don't want to take a bunch of medicine and they know that's what's going to happen. And they just want a really like holistic approach on health.
Mm-hmm.
They just know something's not right. I think it's sort of an age thing too. Sometimes you get where it's like, okay, I'm not getting any younger. I need to figure this out because it's not, I'm going to die early at this stage.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think that the majority of people are walking through life not feeling good?
Oh, 100%. Gosh, I was just having this conversation yesterday. Yeah, I do. I think that people don't have a good understanding of how much better they could feel.
Yeah.
I used to strive, like, I want a perfect day. I want a day where, like, I don't feel bloated. I don't feel like I'm really puffy. My hormones feel like they're normal, or I like not having my period left and right. I could sleep normal. Any of those, like, I go to the bathroom. Like, I guess kind of because I have like that bulldog like personality, and I just knew something wasn't right, and I was like, I'm gonna have perfect days. And so I was just on a mission to do everything I could. But I also became a severe introvert and got really, really depressed when I didn't feel good. Like, I never went out. I didn't want to put clothes on. So I think that it happens to a lot of people. I think that's where a lot of the depression comes from. And then people get medicated and then they're still at home feeling like crap. They're just on medication, you know? And so, and it's not all about weight and it's not all about looks, because I don't even know that I cared about that. I just knew I felt crazy almost.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my clients, until they have their discovery call with me, they feel so hopeless. And then we talk and they're like, oh my God, you get it. You get where I'm at. You get that it's not that I just have to take a pill because, you know, I have X, Y, and Z. It's actually just overall, I need to optimize my health, balance my hormones, look at my gut, fix my diet. And maybe that's just the answer. It's not so, it doesn't have to be so complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, a lot of people don't know. Like, especially if I do a food sensitivity test, my clients, after the first 4 days of doing it, they're like, oh my God. They're like, I slept for the first time. I'm pooping normal. Like, I feel like I'm a miracle worker and I'm really not.
Yeah.
And like, I had one recently that's like, oh my God, I had a funnel cake and I went to like this circus thing and I want to die. I can't believe I felt like this every single day.
Yeah. Well, can you describe for us, like, when you say people don't actually know how good they could feel because they're so far into it, what does it feel like to feel good? Can you describe it?
Oh, well, I think everybody's good is probably different.
Hmm.
I can tell you from my perspective, because everybody is different, but I feel like a lot of my clients would like this, you know, especially my training clients, hearing what they're talking about in the morning. But like, to wake up, you feel refreshed, you don't feel foggy, you have the ability to laugh. I think that's really important, and connect with people.
Mm.
You go to get dressed. Like, for me, like, I like it when it's like, I go to get dressed and I know that I'll put a pair of jeans on, it just feels right. Or like, your clothes aren't uncomfortable. Like, so when I was really sick, I was heavier, but I wasn't fat by any means, but I held so much water and I was so puffy that it felt like I didn't fit in my own skin.
Mm.
So the days that I feel like I fit in my own skin, I know will be a good day, you know, and I don't have a stomach ache or something like that. But for me, perfect example is recently I did the vaccine. I'm not an anti-vaxxer or anything like that, but you know, I think I didn't want to do it, but I did it. And I went back to almost to where my sickest was.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I was like totally introvert. I ended up in the ER with a ruptured cyst. I felt like I was pregnant. I was sweating night sweats. I wasn't sleeping. I was crying all the time. I mean, I literally felt like I was losing my mind, and I was like, I can't. I always, and I just kept saying, okay, it always gets better. It always gets better. I have the tools. I have the tools. So I ran all my labs, and I was severely estrogen dominant, which is my body's go-to under chronic stress. So I'm actually
Oh.
getting a lot of clients who did the vaccine, who have worked with me before, and it's all of their old like health issues that we may have worked through have all come back. So SIBO or some sort of GI infection or some sort of hormone imbalance have all been triggered by this. It's a stress response by whatever the vaccine has kind of done with their body. Their bodies can't handle it.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a little taste of what I used to feel like, and it was not good.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So So like the vaccine has its pros and cons, and
for sure.
we don't have to belabor it, but I am interested to know, like, is the stress response because your immune system is kicked into overdrive when you get it, or
I don't think there's been enough theories on it. I mean, that's my theory sort of is like, you know, I got so sick from the vaccine, like just like that, those nights or whatever. I've never had a
yeah.
fever. I've never had body aches. Like I don't get sick. So I didn't even know what a fever, I didn't know what that felt like. I was like, couldn't even get my phone to call my parents to see if I was going to be alive. Like, I'm like, my kid is here and I'm going to die. Like, I didn't know and I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
So I think that just it just set my body over the edge. And my life is pretty stressful. I try to keep it as balanced as I can, but I can't say that that's the answer. I just, from my clients coming in and what I'm seeing with that, I just think it's really good for people to know that, you do the vaccine and all of a sudden I put on like 10, like I've been the same weight for years. Like I put on 10 pounds instantly. I looked like I was pregnant. My boobs hurt. Like it just was like nuts. And that it's like, I think for the average person who doesn't do what I do, they would just think, oh shit, I'm getting old, or
Yeah.
whatever. They just say something. Oh, well, oh gosh, COVID, I'm just keep getting fatter. I don't know. Maybe I need to work out more, which is like the worst thing they could do. Or so then they start restricting calories and then they stress the body out even more. So it's just educating people as much as we can that, just be aware of these symptoms and there's solutions. I took some supplements and went on progesterone and, I'm like 100 times better. It was just nuts.
Yeah.
I'm just so in tune with my body. So I don't know. I mean, and I think that my goal is to teach people how to be in tune. So that's why I'm glad my old clients are coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So they learn from what I did, which is great. That's the goal.
Being in tune is really hard. I know for me personally, like I just got the booster a couple weeks ago, and ever since I've been in and out of the doctor with like sinus issues, all kinds of like swollen things, and nobody thinks it's related.
Oh, I bet. Did you have a lot of like sinus infections as a child or any?
Yeah, I've been treated for allergies for years and have the sinus infections have gone away over the past couple of years, but now it's just like boom, but it's like
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah. It's
So,
probably like your thing. I feel like everybody has a thing that it triggers.
yeah.
And what it could be also is like, so I know that my allergies, I was that kid when I was little, like I'd go to camp and I'd be allergic to the horses and I'd be like, my eyes would be totally swollen shut and I'd be on every allergy pill under the sun. And like, I almost died because the allergy shots were too strong for me. Like I just couldn't, I was so sick as a kid. And I know that when I clean my gut up, it's so much better, especially like after training clients all outside all last year. I think that actually really helped me because I was exposed to more than environmental stuff and it wasn't like taking allergy shots. But this year, I did a lot of gut work because it was COVID and I was like locked down. I'm like, I did every protocol, I did every test. And I think that definitely, I did not have to take allergy medicine at all this year, which is literally crazy. I mean, I always like, and it's the only medication I take. And I took Zyrtec, I think, all during COVID when I was outside. I mean, I was allergic to everything.
Yeah. Okay. Well, getting back into like the state of humanity, I guess, and our health, why do you think people accept feeling bad? Like just as though it's like the way it is, they're just like, oh, this is just life. Why do you think that acceptance is there?
Time,
Oh,
probably time. And it's a job. It's another job. It eventually becomes a lifestyle. But let's say I didn't know anything I did and I just like went into it. I'm trying to think of like when I first went to like a nutritionist. I remember, learning how to eat healthy. I mean, that was work. I had to really think about what I was doing and the labels I was reading. And I was like, it was like, this is a lot. You have to cook your meals. You have to, I mean, there's actually now you can buy anything. So you can buy your meals. It's easy.
mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can afford it, but I think that time is a really big thing and people don't want to take the time to do it and then it's work. Going to the gym is work.
Mm-hmm.
Eating healthy is work. Doing an infrared sauna takes time. doing a red light takes time, going to meditate takes time. It all takes time. And we're so busy. It's just, I think that's part of it. And then not being educated, like not having the resource to learn. But I feel like the resources are out. Like you can go on Instagram and you can Google like eating clean, and you could probably, or whatever, search it, and you could probably get enough information to have enough understanding to get somewhere. Or the Whole30. I mean, I hate to say it, but like the Whole30 takes out the top 7 foods that are always on food sensitivity tests that I run.
Okay.
So you're already ahead of the game there. I mean, almost every test that I run has, soy, eggs, cow's milk, sugar, wheat, eggs. Those are all on there. So you take those out, you're going to feel better.
Ooh. Why do you think it's so hard for people to, well, I totally agree with you on the time thing. I think you hit the nail on the head. But then like when it comes to taking things out of your diet, like dairy and eggs and things like that, why is it such an issue?
Oh, it's such an issue. People are so attached to food. Like, oh, it's like they're married to it.
Yeah.
Oh, like when I have to tell people they can't have coffee, oh boy, you better watch out. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think it's a comfort. I don't know. They're comfortable with I don't know. I'm trying to think of like when they don't feel bad enough to get rid of it is the only thing I can think of.
Okay.
Or they don't know how good they could feel. Like I know for me, I felt so bad. You could have told me to go eat dirt and that would cure me, or whatever. Like remember like all the stuff where they put the poop in you and they like fix your gut by eating someone else's like clean poop to repopulate your colon. Like, I mean, I would have done anything. Like I was so sick.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually really can save lives, like especially with like Crohn's and colitis. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's like these poop pills, you basically take someone else's poop and put it in you.
Okay. To like change the bacteria?
The microbiome of everything. Yeah.
Okay. Listeners, we're talking to Samantha Lander, functional diagnostic nutritionist, personal trainer, and owner of CFit in St. Louis, Missouri. It's time for a quick break. I'm your host, Brandy Fleck, and this is Human Amplified. If anything in this episode is ringing a bell with you, makes you feel seen, and you can totally relate to just not feeling right, it's probably time to focus on healing. But you might also be overwhelmed with where to even start taking better care of your health. There are so many areas to choose from because as whole humans, we are beautiful and complex, yet there's so little time. Or when you're a thinker like we are, analysis paralysis can stop you from making progress. I know it all too well, friend. That's why I put together the Healing Priorities Workbook. It's a guide to help you figure out and prioritize the healing you need the most right now, whether it's in your mind, body, or spirit. So when you download your free workbook, yes, it's totally free, you can consciously and intentionally narrow down your focus, then use the tools provided to start moving forward in the area you choose. After you identify the area to work on, I walk you through identifying 3 main goals in that area and the steps you'll take to meet each goal. I even give you example steps of how I've done this in my own life. Then we move on to motivating and reinforcing your new behaviors by giving you an area to record wins, no matter how big or small, and then reward yourself, which is so important. You can cycle through the exercises again and again each time you need to create new goals or focus in on a different area of healing. To download your free Healing Priorities Workbook, go to humanamplified.com/episodes/092. Now, back to the show. We're talking to personal trainer and functional diagnostic nutritionist Samantha Lander of CFit in St. Louis, Missouri. This is a perfect time to sort of transition into your healing journey. I would love to know more about just how you went on your healing journey. Like, can you detail the beginning and sort of just give us details what you went through?
We can go all the way back. Let's start. I had chronic sinus infections as a child.
Okay.
So I was on probably tons of antibiotics. So right there, that wiped out my gut. I was breastfed. I was, a vaginal birth, which is great. My parents ate pretty clean. I was that kid that could never I couldn't trade my lunch for the life of me. Like I had like a whole wheat sandwich, apples, and if I got like a homemade cookie, that was like a big deal.
Okay.
Like I didn't get fruit roll-ups. Like I would go to my friend's house and like binge on that stuff because I never had sugar at my house.
Yeah.
So I just was on a lot. I had a deviated septum, and so that's part of it. So I just had a lot of sinus problems, a lot of allergies growing up. And I know in 5th grade, I had like severe stomach problems. And I try to think back of what it could be caused by. And like my parents had a lake house, so I swam in a lake all summer. So swallowing that water, who knows what's in that? And if I already have like a gut that can't pass things through, there you go. I went to camp. I camped outside. I did backpacking. I did all these outdoors wilderness courses. So I was just eating a lot of dirt, I'm sure, and like exposed to a lot. And if my gut couldn't flush it out, maybe that's it. I don't even know. But 5th grade is where my stomach problems got really, really bad. And so they started like medicating me with, I was on something called belladonna, which is this weird herb that they used to put under kids' pillows so they wouldn't have nightmares, I believe.
Okay.
But it's supposed to relax the small muscles in your gut so you don't like have them. I got diagnosed with IBS, so they thought it would relax it. And I go to the bathroom, right? I always had bathroom issues. So it sort of started there. I was always a big time athlete. So I was always stressing my body out there. Like I went to state for swimming. I was one of the #1 rowers in the US. And eventually in high school, I did synchronized swimming for 7 years and won everything with that.
Ooh.
Every sport that I did, I know, right? I like that. But I don't know that I like the sport, but, and then when I became a rower, like it was just super hardcore. And I know my junior year, I remember I had to go on like a super strict diet, which kind of led into like a little 8-month eating disorder. And I had to restrict everything I was eating. And that's actually, I hate to say it, the best I've ever felt because I was eating so clean.
Okay.
But I also like took it too far. I'm really good at doing things well. So like you have me do something, if good or bad, I will do it well, which you're gonna hear in the story. Like,
Okay.
so I just felt like I knew I felt better. I just felt, I guess I just wasn't eating anything and everything. And then eventually I kind of got out of that and I was fine for a while. I went to college and then, that's when I was free to eat whatever I wanted for the first time in my life. And I dated a football player and I put on a ton of weight and drank and did the typical college thing. I ate like I went to Michigan. I ate like a Division I football player. My boyfriend was a 310-pound nose tackle. So I always felt small. Like, so, and that's when I quit rowing and I wasn't into sports. And then eventually I kind of found my way back and I became a spinning instructor. I got back into sports, got back into everything, running, and things were good. Junior year, I started, visiting a lot of friends out in California. And that's when I started like getting into partying. It's a lot of gay men, and nothing against, it's not categorizing everybody parties. It doesn't matter if you're gay or not, but that's kind of where I was at.
Yeah.
And I started using a lot of drugs. Like I started partying a lot. And I think that's almost sort of like in some ways the best I felt again, because it was like I could eat. It's sort of like I could eat whatever I wanted. I never had any stomach problems. I didn't care. I felt good. I was doing really well in school, but I was also self-medicating with meth. So that was like the glamorous drug out in LA at the time. So it's kind of like the cocaine of the 60s. It was not like the St. Louis, Jefferson County, I'm going to blow up your trailer trash kind of thing, because I didn't realize that was going on here until I moved home.
Okay.
So I'd been diagnosed with ADD and ADHD when I was younger, but the medication always made me feel like crap. So I never took it. And I never, ever liked to take medicine. It's the weirdest thing. Like I'll do drugs, but I won't take any medicine.
Yeah.
My dad was a doctor. We had everything around, like never abused that ever in my life. So eventually I started launching a liquor, and I had about 7 jobs at this time and was making a ton of money in college. I worked for a ton of families, but I also helped launch a vodka. So it was the first micro distilled vodka made in the US. So it was like Absolute, like the flavored Absolute, but it was the first one basically. And it was this blueberry vodka. And so I started promoting at a lot of clubs and getting this out. And it just was, I loved it. And I was supposed to move to California to work with a distributor to do that. And I had a house in LA that I was supposed to house sit for this actress. So I moved out there. End of the day, that job fell through. And that's when I decided to become a DJ.
Okay.
I started DJing and producing music. As far as my health, I think that I was probably not really aware of feeling bad or not. I don't ever remember my periods being bad, even when I was younger. I don't remember ever having cramps. I don't remember like ever having acne. Like I don't remember anything weird like that that I would ask a lot of my clients about.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I became a DJ, but then, the drug thing kind of grew. And that's when I also was selling drugs. So I was out there and I started selling drugs and I was doing a lot of drugs. And I think that really took whatever could be going on with my gut and my health, obviously, to the next level. I'm sure my insides were trashed. And I was a very successful DJ. I did really, really well. But I got in a pretty abusive relationship. And I just was buying time because I knew it was sort of like, when I tell my clients, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, I knew at some point I'd be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And then I would make a change. And I just had to grit and bear it until I was literally ready to do it.
Yeah.
And finally, I checked myself into rehab. And prior to that, I guess I should probably fill you in on this part. Prior to that, my house got raided. So I ended up having like a full SWAT raid at my house. And I was looking at state time in California and federal time. My guy had gotten busted. And so it's kind of like things just sort of trickled down and someone said something and then that's what happened. The weird thing is I quit selling drugs 3 weeks prior to that, which is the strangest thing. But my ex had brought 8 gallons of GHB, which was like it's like the date rape drug, but you drink it and it's a club drug in LA, into my house. And I did not know. So they tracked it and they followed it. And that's what that.
Oh man.
So that happened. And then I got out and I checked myself into rehab. And I mean, I was done. I was on a pink cloud. I was happier than I've ever been in my life. You could have put me anywhere and I would not have cared. And so like going to jail was not, I just was so happy to be sober. So I ended up doing some California time and then I moved home and I ended up getting federally indicted. So I ended up doing 2 years in federal prison.
Okay.
So like I said, when I do things, I do it well. I mean, I guess I did get caught, so I didn't do it that well.
You really went all in.
Yeah, right. That kind of happened. I mean, I moved home and I had some time before I actually got indicted. And I was working at Ann Taylor Loft. I was working at a music studio. I was going to work on some music production stuff. So I still wanted to be in the music industry, but I didn't. I was just sort of finding my way. And that's when I decided, when I was in prison, I worked out a lot. Like I worked out so like it was too much. I mean, I would do cardio in the morning and cardio afternoon. And then on the nice days, you'd walk around this track like a little hamster. And I'd walk like 12 miles on the weekends, like during the day. It was just insane. I worked there. I learned how to do everything under the sun. I was at a camp. So I'm licensed to drive a genie boom, a backhoe, a road grinder, a bulldozer, like you name it. I was working out, like basically I worked in the garden. So I made the best of my time. I felt like that I could.
Yeah.
But I got out of there. And that's when I decided I was going to become a personal trainer. So I got my job back at Ann Taylor Loft. I got certified with personal training. Oh, when I was in there, I got certified to be to train dogs as helper dogs. And that's why I was working at Support Dogs.
Okay.
So Support Dogs was the company that came in and trained us so we could get out and have jobs. So a lot of the women get out and they don't have jobs. So if I needed a job, I could have gone and worked for this company and helped them train these dogs to be support dogs. So I worked there too. And that's when I just became a personal trainer. And the gym that I worked at, the owner was in recovery and he, sort of took me under his wing and the owners were just amazing to me. My parents had trained with them for years and years. And that's where I started working. And I rocked it. It was crazy. I mean, I had nothing. I had absolutely like nothing. And then I like bought a house and was doing great.
Yeah.
But I still didn't feel good. So this is when I got out of prison. So when I was in prison, I had like chronic acne, like so bad all over my face. They did this soy diet at one point where we all thought it was like super healthy. So I was literally just eating soy, like what looked like ground meat, but it was like soy. It was so bad.
Uh-huh.
And I went on tetracycline when I was there, which is a really hardcore antibiotic for at least 6 months. So there goes my gut even more.
Okay.
So I had a compromise. I mean, I've never healed my gut my whole life. So I guess I'm kind of lucky I made it this far, but I got out. And when I became a personal trainer, that's when I sort of realized like I had chronic diarrhea. I felt like crap all the time. And then I think eventually I was getting my period like 2 weeks on, maybe 1 week off, 2 weeks on, 1 week off. my period was so messed up. I tried to go on birth control maybe, and then went off. I had an IUD. I thought it was maybe that. I took that out. I had chronic UTIs. And that's when one of the trainers said, "Hey, I know this guy, Kyle, you need to run a food sensitivity test." So I ran that test. And I mean, I ate so clean, and I probably had, if you run, it's 100, it tests now for 175 things. I think at that point it was 150. I probably had 50 things on it, which is a lot.
Okay.
And within the first week of being on it, I lost 18 pounds of just inflammation of water, not weight.
Wow.
It wasn't even about that, but it was just so much inflammation on my body. And that really helped. I felt great, but then I kind of hit a roadblock again. And that's when I ended up doing a parasite test, and I ended up having 2 parasites. And then eventually I did adrenal and the hormone panel. At that point, it was a spit test. So I did that. So I went on bioidentical hormones. I was super estrogen dominant. That's my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
So being estrogen dominant is no fun. It's like the worst feeling in the world, because I've been progesterone dominant, and I can definitely say that estrogen was way worse.
Okay.
And it was definitely very emotional for me. I remember like going on all the supplements and all the medication, all the bioidentical hormones and stuff. And and I quit working out. I lifted some weights. I stopped all cardio because I was overtraining and my cortisol levels were so low. And I ended up, I felt great within the first month or 2. I have never had such good energy. I felt like at one point it was like going to the grocery store was like running a marathon for me. It was like, that's why I tell people, do you feel like when you go to the grocery store, it's like running a marathon?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yes. And I go, do you feel like you can't finish a sentence and you suddenly have been diagnosed with severe ADD? And they're like, yes. So like, it was all that brain fog and stuff. And I did really well for a while. And then I ended up breaking up with my ex-fiance, and then got food poisoning. So it was like a double whammy. And this was in a 2-week period, and everything went bad again. And so that's when I was like, I'm sick of, and I've worked with enough practitioners, and I had spent so much money on doctors and practitioners. I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I need to have this tool in my toolbox. I need to learn how to do this. I feel like I can almost do this better than some of the practitioners I'm working with. I'm going to take a course and I'm going to figure this out. And that's when I did the FDN course, and I got certified to be an FDN practitioner, and went through all that, and then did some courses with a woman in London on the gut, which is like how to read faces with and tell signs of disease with the face, parasites, SIBO. I've taken a ton with her. She's brilliant. Emma Lane, the US again, she's your girl for that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And that was like kind of the breaking point for me. I just did it. I just started working on myself, doing it all on myself. I'd reach out to certain practitioners that I knew when I needed some advice or like a second opinion on things. And I had a mentor with the program, so she would help me kind of, because they have you run everything on yourself. So it was just perfect. And
okay,
ton of gut healing work, and I sort of got everything together. And I had bumps in the road for sure. You know, it was really hard for me to get pregnant. I had fertility issues. So, you know, I've had to struggle through different things. I ended up getting SIBO later. I ended up with another parasite, but I knew how to handle all of it. So I think the key thing that I always tell people is like, you can work with anyone, but if they don't, I could run a food sensitivity test with you every 6 months, but if you don't do the work to heal your gut, it doesn't matter. It's just, you're just keep running the tests and keep doing the same thing, because you've got to look, the gut is a second brain. You have to look at the gut.
okay.
You know, heavy metals, I had mercury fillings. I had gotten those removed. So that mercury is really toxic on the body. So these are all kind of things that I look at for clients now, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So there it is.
I have a ton of follow-up questions
Perfect.
for you. Okay. So first, I'm going to go with, how do people end up getting parasites? Like, it seems like we're walking around with parasites, but we don't even know we have them. How do they get there?
So I've run hundreds of parasite tests on people. So I'm trying to think of like the top 4 things. So you don't wash your vegetables. So if you have a compromised gut, you're not going to flush things out. So if you don't wash your vegetables, especially if they're organic, like the thing is, like the people who eat cleaner are actually going to have more of the bug poop on their food, because there's no pests, there's nothing killing all the shit on it.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I've done so well not cussing till now. I think if you have food poisoning, If you get food poisoning, that usually will do something to your gut, either a parasite or you will get a SIBO. Number one cause, I think, of SIBO, one of the top ones is, I mean, obviously overuse of antibiotics, but food poisoning. I'm trying to think of what else. Sushi. Sushi is covered in parasites unless it's blast frozen or like crazy fresh. And so you can't pass them through. So here's the thing with parasites is they see an X-ray vision, sort of like night vision. So let's put some night goggles on and I look at two people, you know, standing on the street. If one is cool, like has this, whatever, is it green? Green is the cool temperature. And then one is more orange and red. To them, they're going to go to the orange and red because they know that that host has some sort of infection or is inflamed or is not as healthy as the person in blue. So they know what do parasites do. They live off of their host. So they know that they can, they're going to stay in you and live off you. So they find you, you know, I mean, it's not like they're out there looking in their little binoculars, but they find, you know,
Yeah.
they know when they are in your body, if they're going to be able to stay or not. Is kind of my like my blanket term. I know, you know, it's more complicated than that, but
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was really helpful to know. Man, sushi.
I
I love
know,
sushi
I
so
know,
much.
I know. Sushi.
Okay.
Honestly, though, if you look at the ingredients in sushi and you look at the ingredients in like a McDonald's hamburger, I think the hamburger might be better.
Oh,
Well, I
wow.
mean, if you look, even like Whole Foods
Yeah.
sushi, because the sugar, the soy, there's gluten.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of, so now let's talk about healing your gut real quick. Like, what does that, for people who aren't versed in this, what does that even mean? And then I want to follow that up with like why gluten is such a big deal for people.
Okay. So healing the gut. So if you've heard of like leaky gut or intestinal permeability, what happens basically over time is you have all these microvilli in your gut, and they have those through poor diet, picking up parasites, whatever it may be that you occur, those start to break down. As those break down, they're going to go right to your intestinal wall. With your intestinal wall, you have these tight little junctions, okay? And they sort of protect it from going into your bloodstream. So with poor diet, taking medication, whatever it is, these become very inflamed and these junctions kind of open up and the food and all these other things kind of travel through and go into your bloodstream, but you get leaky gut. So that's your leaky gut there. So
Okay.
when your intestinal wall becomes very permeable, so there's kind of like these gaps and holes in it, it's typically, that's what we need to heal. That's like, we're going to get the microvilli back. We're going to heal the, you know, the permeability in your gut. I think that's kind of the priority of when it comes for me, for when it comes to healing gut for a client. Obviously, you know, you're going to heal everything in there with the supplements that you use. I tend to, you know, bone broth is a great one, like a DIY, do at home, bone broth, drink it, and a ton of it. Don't get regular broth, get bone broth. Make sure there's no sugar in it. You know, L-glutamine is a great one, but you got to be careful if you have SIBO. So you got to make sure, you know, you don't have that because the bacteria sometimes can grow more. But L-glutamine is one. There is, you know, tons of herbs that you can take. I love to use something called GI Revive for Designs with Health. And yeah, I just sell that on my online store and for my clients. And that's, we just kind of go through that and has all sorts of herbs in there. But, you know, first you got to kind of eradicate whatever's in there and figure that out and then heal it, kind of my process.
Okay. And so then you go and you take, well, you eat certain foods that basically help your gut.
So you can take certain supplements, anything that's going to like a collagen, like things like that, like anything that's going to help rebuild the tissue and help your gut, you know, get better. And then remove, like, you know, run a GI panel, make sure you don't have H. pylori, make sure you don't have parasites, make sure you don't have candida, make sure you don't have SIBO or some sort of fungus. You got to make sure you don't have any of that other stuff going on, because you can work on healing it, but you got to get rid of the infection. So I think that is, yeah, I think that's an important piece to the puzzle, but there's various ways you can do it.
Yeah. Well, and then with gluten, you brought up gluten. Why is it such a problem?
I think that with gluten, it's a super inflammatory food for people. It's a grain. And I don't know. So like a lot of people, like my clients will be like, I went to Italy and I ate pasta the whole freaking time. And I'm like celiac, or can't have gluten. But the wheat there is so much cleaner and so pure compared to the wheat here, which has been like so processed and so sprayed with pesticides and so contaminated that it's not even like it's wheat, but it's wheat with a bunch of other crap.
Yeah.
And personally, For me, I actually like, especially running all the food sensitivity tests, I don't see wheat on it as much as I used to.
Okay.
So I don't know if people are getting more into like this gluten-free craze or what. I think that celiac has definitely become more of an issue with many people. But, I think it has to do with like whatever you do as a child and whatever your diet is like with a child and a combination with like your genetics. I think that your body, if you're bombarding your body with toxins like really young and like a poor diet, I think that that's going to cause a lot of inflammation, a lot of autoimmune conditions, a lot of other things that are going to happen later in life, even if they don't like even if celiac doesn't show up.
Yeah.
So, and I think that it's possible to fix it. I think you just have to work on the gut. It just takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
But for me, if a client ends up having a test that doesn't have gluten, I say, fine, you know what? And they're clear with everything else that would be in the product. I'd say, fine. If you want to have a cheat meal on Sunday and have like a really good sourdough that's super clean, go for it. It's fine. But, obviously if it comes up as a reactive food or they have celiac or something like that, then no. But, there's a lot of people that would completely disagree and they think it's just crazy inflammatory. The gluten 100%, that's a really inflammatory grain. I don't think it's very clean here in the US. So I always recommend not to do it. I think there's
Yeah.
other options these days that are just as good. I think corn is worse. I've never had a test without corn. I've never had anyone not have corn on their food sensitive test. It's a filler, it's in everything, it's inflammatory, it's a GMO. I mean, it messes with your blood sugar. So I think corn is way worse.
Yeah. And I feel like it used to be healthy.
Corn?
Uh-huh. Do you think that it's gotten worse because of like the GMO stuff or?
I guess it's just so cheap. And then high fructose corn syrup was in everything.
Yeah.
So at least they pulled that out of a lot of foods. But now, so they pull the high fructose corn syrup out of a lot of the foods, right? So you don't get ketchup, it'll just have sugar. Fine. I don't know if it's much better, but that's, you have sugar. However, now everything's gluten free. So everything that's gluten free has corn in it because corn is gluten free. So you buy a tincture that's, let's say I have a client, okay, go buy a wormwood tincture to kill a parasite. Make sure that the tincture isn't a corn based because they want a gluten free one. It's going to be corn based. Xylitol, which is in all the gum, it's derived from corn. Everything is derived from corn, even like the healthy stuff.
Oh my gosh.
But everything gluten free. I mean, corn tortillas, the Tito's vodka. Oh my God, it's gluten free. It's so great. It's corn. So it's just cheap and it's a filler.
Yeah.
My God, I don't know.
So how do you eat clean? How do you navigate all of these like processes? Is it possible to eat completely clean?
Yeah, it is. You just have to, it's just like taking a course and educating yourself on something. So I think, I personally would just do the food sensitivity test because it's easy and then you don't have to play the guessing game. However, if someone were listening to this and I would recommend things to remove and start there, I would say anything that you eat all the time, get rid of, because most people, what happens if you eat the same thing over and over, you create your own food sensitivity to it. So it's not an allergy. I'm looking at food intolerance, food sensitivity. These are not allergies.
Oh.
So if you drink coffee and creamer every single day, get rid of it. Okay. And then I would say cow's milk. I would say corn, soy, eggs, sugar. And then, we can throw wheat in there because, a lot of people on there, but those are the most common things, which is basically like the Whole30. So I would take that out. But if you eat chicken or you have eggs, chicken every single day, like some people just love chicken and they just eat chicken like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Take the chicken out. So put turkey in, just switch it. And then read your labels and just pick whole foods. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. I think that's important. When you go to a restaurant, there's so many clean restaurants out there now. And they have such a good understanding because everybody has these food restrictions now. I think that if you order, hey, I would love to have a piece of salmon. Can you just cook it? If you can have cow's milk, cook it in butter, olive oil, please. And then you can have the vegetables in some sort of fat, whatever, steam. Just don't put anything weird on it. Sauces on the side, stuff like that. And then you can navigate everything pretty safe. Like everything, just do things on the side. Like if you want the sauces, fine. But if they're on the side, you probably will eat less of them. Mm-hmm. Ask if there's sugar in things. Obviously, if you're eating Chinese food, you're going to get everything. but I mean, you can do a burger without the bun and have it be a lettuce wrap. You can, there's options. If you want pasta, just do a rice pasta, not a corn pasta and not a wheat pasta.
Okay.
I think it's just learning how to swap whatever you're doing now with something a little cleaner. Because it's just so easy. To me, it seems from when I started, it's so much easier. Like I go to Whole Foods and I could walk out of there with bags of desserts that are completely clean that we could both eat and not have a problem. Back when I was doing it, I would have to make everything if I wanted it. I love that Hue Kitchen chocolate.
Uh-huh.
And there's no soy, there's no dairy, there's no sugar, and it's freaking amazing. The Smart Sweets, those gummy candies that are like the new things. I mean, there's a little bit of carbs and stuff like that, and there's some inulin, which is derived from a sugar source, but it's still super freaking clean, and you're not going to get that insulin spike that you would get from eating a bunch of candy.
All right. Well, man, thank you for all this advice. I feel like you've given us a lot of actionable steps to even take, like if somebody's just ready to stick their, toe in and sort of test it out. So that's great. How would you describe your life now? Like after all that you've been through and where you're at, how would you sum it up?
I'm still going through it. I don't feel like it's gotten that. It's easier in different ways and it's harder in other ways. I don't regret anything I've done in my life except for buying a 15-foot blow up pool during COVID. I can tell you right now, that's probably one of the worst mistakes I've ever made in my life.
Why was that a mistake?
Oh my God. I flooded the backyard like 12 times. If you don't put one of those pools, those above ground pools on like a completely flat surface, they will tip. Even if it's like this much off. I literally had to dig a hole. I mean, I had nothing to do. It was COVID, so it's fine. I literally dug a hole, bought 2,000 pounds of sand, filled that hole, leveled it out. My kid didn't like the pool. Every time I went back there, I got eaten alive. Like, it was just like, I ended up selling it for like double what I got it. So I guess that worked out, but like, oh, it was awful.
Yeah.
So my life now, it's good. I mean, I have a lot of perfect days, as I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I think, obviously I dealing with more of like the kid, the single mom, the struggles like that. But my health, except for the little bump in the road there with the vaccine, which was good. I learned, it's all educational for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing really well. Like I'm doing well. I'm really happy. I'm really focusing on the functional, the FDN practice now. So I train people, but my focus is the FDN, and I can work nationwide. And I don't love the social media, but I love it. I mean, that's basically runs my business, but I love some of the creativity that I can get behind that.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the reels. I wish I had more time to do reels,
Yeah.
but they're hilarious. I think it's like the funniest thing in the world. Like I just crack up. I'm like, am I really filming myself on a toilet to get clients? Like, cause I can't poop, or am I like dumping water all over myself and saying I have night sweats and filming this to try to get people to work with me. But it works. Yeah. My biggest one was one about not pooping and being constipated. I literally got like 5 clients from it because nobody poops.
That's awesome.
Like nobody.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
How many times well, I'm assuming you know the answer to this. How many times a day is it normal to poop?
2. But if you're doing it once a day, I'm good with that.
Okay. Somebody told me once that you should go 3 times a day. What do you think about that?
Probably. I mean, I think you've got a really healthy metabolism and you're doing great.
Okay.
I don't go. I mean, I'll go 1, maybe twice a day.
Okay.
But I am not a 3-day unless, be kind of a rare thing.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't eat and run to the bathroom, or you shouldn't go more. You shouldn't really go more than a day. It's super toxic on the body. I have clients that'll go weeks. It's just crazy. And they think it's normal. People think it's normal because that's how they were raised.
Oh, wow.
For some people, I had one client who thought it was normal because their parents were so like weird about them pooping that they would just hold it, and they had to like sneak it in as a child. So they just thought that was normal growing up, crazy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. If there was one, I don't know if this is possible, but if you had like one piece of wisdom that you just had to get out super quickly to someone, what would that one piece be?
Well, when it comes to running a business, I would say delegate to elevate, which is like my goal right now. So like, I'm not going to get bigger until I can hire out to get have someone help me to grow.
Yeah.
You can't be a one-man show and grow as big as I want. And then, oh gosh, it's so cheesy. God gives you what you can handle, and that, you'll always get through it. It's like, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Like any of those things. It's like, God gives you what you're going to be able to handle. And if shit's hard and you feel like crap, it will always get better. And there's a reason why you're going through it. And it's just going to make you stronger. And it sucks when you're in it. But I very rarely find that it doesn't not, like, it usually gets better. I don't know when, but it does. Especially if you do just be your best self.
Yeah.
And are good to people and don't lie. I don't like liars.
Yeah.
Just be true. Honest.
I don't either.
Yeah. I'm not big on that.
Well, Samantha, just where can people find you? And the name of your business is CFit. Is that correct?
Yep.
And where can they find that and anything else you want to put out there?
So CFit Living is my handle on Instagram, and that's where I'm like the most active. And the next would be Facebook, where you can just look up Samantha Lander, which is my personal page, but I seem to be on both still. I'm trying to get everybody in my other one. And then CFit is my Facebook page, and then www.cfitpt.com to just learn a little bit about me. That's my website. And I also, just keep, if you want to get on an email list, shoot me a message, DM me, and I send out a ton of information through emails. I'm going to start running seasonal cleanses. So it's a 30-day cleanse challenge. That's just kind of like a great way to get your feet wet. So you'll get information if, when that's coming out. I have one coming up this January, but by the time this airs, it'll be over. So maybe the spring, you can join it. Yeah. And I usually do like an early enrollment, and we do weekly webinars. So I think that's a great way if you just want to kind of start, but not do the full blown Monty with me. I think it's good.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
Okay. Well, guys, all of those links will be in the show notes. So be sure to go over there and check them out. Check out CFit Living and, give it a try.
You can see my reels about poop.
Yeah, exactly.
Me throwing dildos around. It's really funny.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and just packing it full of helpful information. It was really great.
Great. Well, thank you for having me. I love being on podcasts.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and learn more at humanamplified.com. This episode is brought to you by the Human Amplified Healing Priorities Workbook. Start making decisions about the healing you need most right now by downloading your free workbook at humanamplified.com/episodes/092.